Hey everyone, welcome to Path to Wellness. Thanks for being here today. Today we have a special guest, Shane Sterling from Raw Vegan Rising, and he is a 5-year raw vegan. He's a juice fasting expert. So thanks a lot for being here today, Shane.
Thanks so much for having me, Chris. It's my pleasure to be here and to share information with your audience today.
Fantastic. Well, let's just get right into it. If you wouldn't mind telling us your journey, sort of where would you been able to heal, and tell us your story on this. How'd you become a 5-year raw vegan?
Well, I went vegan when I was 17 years old. That was back in 1990. I am 50 years old now, and I've been raw vegan for 5 years. But this really goes back to when I started my vegan journey because as a kid, I knew I didn't want to eat animals, but I didn't know anything about health at all. I had no concept of the health. So all I did was just stop eating animal products. Well, I did that for many years. I was strict vegan for 13 years, all the way up until I was about 30 years old. And I learned a lot. I mean, honestly, it was the best decision I ever made. Thank God I did that because it really provided me with a lot of just inner knowledge, personal experience with the journey. But then at 30 years old, I had kind of some stuff happen in my life. It was too much to handle at the time. 9/11 happened. I got laid off from my job. I moved cities. All of this, my bandwidth became full. I abandoned veganism at 30. So it wasn't that I liked eating animal products and I didn't abandon it for health reasons. It was more of a bandwidth issue. I actually was single at the time and I thought, how am I going to meet a vegan girl? It felt like too much to ask. So I was like, it was really just, I wanted to just kind of clear the decks and have a fresh start and not worry about things. Well, over the years, that kind of backfired because my health suffered. All those years vegan in my early 20s, I didn't even realize how good I was feeling, except in hindsight, now after going back to kind of an omnivore diet, I really realized the difference. Now, the interesting thing was right around the same time, right around 30 years old, somebody threw this book into my hand on the street, randomly on the street one day. Somebody tossed this book over to me and said, here, you need to read this. And it was the Essene Gospel of Peace. I had never heard of the book. I knew nothing about it. But there was a picture of Gustave Doré on the cover, and I loved Gustave Doré, one of my favorite engraving artists, really cool stuff. So I was like, well, this is neat. Maybe I should read this. And I did read it. And it was about raw food and fasting for healing our body. And that was the first time I had the concept of raw food and being a raw vegan. And I wasn't even vegan at that time, but I knew in my heart of hearts, I knew that was where I wanted to go. And I thought, well, maybe that's somewhere in the future when I'm like some spiritually evolved monk living on a mountaintop, I could accomplish that. I didn't think it was realistic to accomplish that in my day-to-day life. It felt really far off. But that book was so inspiring. I read it over and over. I would find myself spending hours reading the book. I would constantly revisit it. It really affected me. It was like I had gotten a download about a truth that I had been missing my whole life, that raw foods provide the highest level of vitality in the body, and that cooked foods take away the vitality in our body, that fresh living foods provide a living body and dead foods create a dead body. And in the Essene Gospel of Peace, it talks about also doing enemas, and it's supposedly the words of Jesus too, by the way, Jesus being an Essene, and the Essenes were raw foodists. This is supposedly, and there's a lot of controversy about the reality of it, and that's beside the point, because nonetheless, the message is highly inspiring and true, that bowel detoxification is how we stay healthy and disease-free and connected to our spiritual divine gifts as well. And it talks about it in that book that by eating living foods, we invite a connection with the divine and with the earthly angels, is how it puts it in that book. But we experience the angels in our body. And when we eat cooked foods and dead foods and frozen foods, it brings in the devils into our body. And Beelzebub grows in our bowels. This is how the book puts it. So if we don't detoxify our bowels, we grow Satan in the bowels, and it creates pestilence and disease in our body. And So I was highly inspired by this. I thought that it was such a great message that it always haunted me, resonated in the back of my mind. Well, fast forward to years later, I was struggling with my health problems from being omnivore. And I'm not cut out for animal products. Going vegan at a young age, I really set my body up to be vegan. I didn't like animal products, didn't like the taste of meat, never liked it. And so it was very clear at one point I needed to go back to being vegan. I was 44 years old at the time. I had to do it right. This was the lifelong vegan journey. I was like, okay, I already know how to be vegan. I've been vegan many years. This time, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to start with a juice fast to detoxify my bowels, prepare my bowels to enjoy the bounty of a raw vegan diet. That's exactly what I did. I did a 40-day juice fast. I removed about 20 to 25 pounds of waste out of my GI tract during that juice fast. It was miraculous. And then I've been raw vegan ever since. The rebuilding of my gut microbiome to thrive on raw foods was an epic journey. It took me about 2 years to feel good consistently on raw food. Most people think they're going to feel good on raw food after about a month or maybe a couple weeks of eating raw food. But it took 2 years for my body to adapt, to adjust, to go through the healing crisis. The first thing that happens when we eat only raw food is we might lose weight. We might see like dark circles appear under our eyes. We have to go through a detox phase. There's many symptoms that arise, from rashes to breakouts of viruses on the skin to hair loss to sensitive teeth and stains on the teeth, all kinds of bizarre things. But if we stick with it, if we allow the body time to transition to only raw plant-based foods, we come out the other side into this whole new plateau of health. And that's what I've experienced now, which is why I'm not going to go back to a cooked food diet ever, because I've done the work to transition my body. I feel the best of my life. I'm 50 years old now, and I look and feel the best of my life. And when I stand next to people my own age, for instance, men who are 50 or so, we look like we're from different generations. I mean, honestly, I have a youthfulness to my appearance that fools people, and they never believe me. And so that's cool. That's a byproduct of being plant-based most of my life. But more importantly, raw vegan has completely transformed everything about my life. I highly recommend it. I think it's the most incredible lifestyle possible for humans. And the journey to get there is possible for everyone. And this is my message. Everyone can thrive on a raw vegan diet. We all have different degenerative conditions. We all have different weaknesses. We might have bowel weaknesses, digestive weaknesses that deter us from enjoying raw foods, like colitis, IBS, Crohn's disease, irritable bowel, things like this. But everyone can rehabilitate their gut through the process of fasting and raw foods. And we don't need animal products, and we don't need cooked foods to thrive. Anything that we gain from denaturing the food in the cooking process pales into comparison of what we will lose. And the raw foods provide us with everything, including the very critical enzymes in raw food and all of the nutrients and the vitamins and minerals that are damaged, lost, and denatured during the cooking process. So if we don't cook our food, what we get from the food is far, far more important. And that is something that's a little bit of a fringe concept in today's modern society. Is very bizarre that the modern medical narrative does not support raw food. It supports pharmaceutical drugs. It supports meat, dairy, and eggs. And we know that these types of foods are not promoting health in our society. Look at the state of our society. How many people how many 50-year-olds look like me?
Yeah.
So that's really the root of my message. Everyone can thrive on a raw vegan diet. How you get there is different.
Yeah, and before you switched over to before you did the juice fast and before you did the raw, since going raw, you had some health issues, right? That you were able to turn around. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's another leg of the story of what happened to me. So at about 40 years old, I was starting to put on some weight, as 40-year-olds normally do, eating the standard American diet. I was stressed, working a lot. I started to get skinny fat, put on a bunch of belly fat, but didn't have any muscle. And I looked skinny fat and I didn't like it. And I was like, oh God, I got to fix this. And so I started working out. Well, when you start working out, you're going to research on YouTube how to work out and fitness advice, how to eat to gain muscle. I bought the official fitness narrative hook, line, and sinker, which tells you have to eat 1 gram of animal protein per pound of body weight, and you can utilize whey protein powders to make that easier. So for me, that might be 170, 180 grams of protein per day. So I did that for a couple years, worked out at the gym like a fiend, trying to put on some muscle and lose the belly fat. Well, I got very sick from that. I developed what's called acidosis symptoms. Meat, dairy, and eggs produce acid residue in the body. If you're eating high animal proteins, you have high uric acid residue in the body, and that creates a whole host of problems. Most of the diseases and the health conditions that we know of today in the modern society are forms of acidosis and inflammation. Autoimmune, hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's, lupus, fibromyalgia, autoimmune, IBS, all the way from aging and hair thinning, male pattern baldness, all of that is related to acids in the body. So because of my previous experience being vegan and being an alkaline plant-based eater for many years of my life, when I went to this high protein diet, literally within 2 years of that, I started to develop severe acidosis symptoms. I got dandruff like crazy. I couldn't get rid of the dandruff. And no matter what I did, no matter how much I washed my hair, used anti-dandruff shampoos, salt rinses, coconut oil soaks, I tried everything on my scalp. Nothing would work. Also, I was getting joint pain. I had regular joint pain in my elbows and shoulders. It was tendonitis, and I was struggling with joint pain. So here I was, 40 years old, 42, 43, struggling with extreme chronic inflammation on my scalp, extreme chronic inflammation in my joints from this high animal protein diet. That was the real catalyst that brought me back to being vegan. That was when I said, what the hell am I doing? I know better. I know what I need to do. I realize I can fix my chronic dandruff and joint inflammation, bringing me all the way back to that book, The Theessene Gospel of Peace. I knew in my heart that was the calling, that was the catalyst that brought me back to the truth that I needed to detoxify my bowels. My bowels had become filthy with animal products, and I needed to clean it all out. So I did a 40-day juice fast, hoping my dandruff would be gone in 40 days. That's not what happened. My dandruff was actually more aggravated after 40 days. And in the following months, I stayed raw. And in the following months, like say 6 months after I started my journey, I was the most inflamed I had ever been. My dandruff was even worse because I was stirring up the pot. All the toxins, all the acids were now in my skin, in my bowels and tissues, in my blood as I was detoxing out. So after about a year, it started to subside. My inflammation got better. And I thought for sure it would have been gone by then. But then at about a year and a half, it started to seem mostly gone, with only minor flare-ups. And then it took a full 2 years before I saw no more signs of skin inflammation or dandruff. And I have been injury-free now. I work out 6 days a week at the gym. I work out hard at the gym.
Yeah.
And I have no joint pain, never get injuries, and no sign of any tendonitis. It was all related to acid buildup.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's just amazing. Yeah, and that's the next thing I was going to ask. One of the things I was going to ask you about is your workout routine, because I know you're really fit and strong. And sometimes you see people doing like raw vegan, fruitarian style diets, and they're thin as a rail. So, give us your thoughts on that. Like, tell us about your workout routine and what do you do?
It's very important to realize that most people coming to a fruitarian diet or a raw vegan diet have chronic health problems that they're trying to solve, like I did with my dandruff and my joint pain and my inflammation. So when we start on a fruitarian style diet, we're really already sick. We have to detox the body thoroughly, starting with the bowels, before we can even address absorption, utilization, building the body. If we want to build our body to be strong and muscular, we have to start with the gut. That's where our body intakes the building blocks of muscle tissue, is in the gut. We can build muscle on salad, but we're going to have a really impeccably clean bowel and a really strong microbiome. So the microbes that break down the components of the salad to bring those amino acids to the cells to build muscle tissue. If we just take in a bunch of animal products, you don't build muscle from eating muscle. No muscular animal on planet Earth eats muscle to be muscular. The carnivores aren't muscular. The obligate carnivore animals aren't necessarily muscular. They're obligate carnivores, yes, but the most muscular animals on the planet are eating grass. That's because the amino acids are what our body really needs. We have to break down complex protein to extract the amino acids. So how much work does your body have to do to break down chicken into amino acids to rebuild it into muscle tissue? It makes no sense. Give your body the basic building blocks of amino acids in raw fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds in its pure form, low on the food chain, and your body stays alkaline and gets everything it needs. But it starts with the gut. So because I did bowel detoxification for 2 years, building my gut on a raw vegan diet, when I started to go back to the gym after that detox phase and rebuild my body, now I'd like to say I got down to 145 pounds. I'm 6'2". So I looked like I walked out of a concentration camp. I was a coat hanger, skinny shoulders, skinny arms. My arms would swim in my sleeves, like literally flap. I had girl-looking arms. I didn't like that. I wanted to look strong and masculine and not be an example of deficient diet. So I decided I was going to work hard at the gym, stay fully raw, and build my body up. And that's exactly what I've done. Now, to my surprise, it has been the easiest to build muscle and strength than I've ever experienced. Like I said, I worked out for years on an animal-based diet, trying to build muscle with animal protein. I struggled. I've put on way more muscle mass. So 3 years ago, I started working out after my detox. I was 145. In the last 3 years, I'm now 200, 195 actually today. So how much is that? 50 pounds.
50
I've
pounds.
put on 50 pounds in the last 3 years.
Wow.
So I'm not fat. I don't have a lot of body fat. I'm probably, I don't know, 15, 18% body fat. So how much muscle is that? I mean, a lot. Maybe 30 pounds of muscle in the last 3 years, 40 pounds possibly.
Yeah.
So that is only possible because of my bowel detoxification journey that's created the healthiest microbiome possible. And I've done it all on completely raw food, fully raw fruit, vegetables, salads, nuts, and seeds. That's it. No cooked foods, no grains, no starches, no potatoes, no oatmeal, no rice. Is all built on raw foods. So what I've done to do that is understanding basic body mechanics. I focus on the 5 compound movements, which are the mass building movements: bench press, overhead press, bent over row, squat, and deadlift. I've just focused on mass building to get my body mass back up. And I focused on progressive overload, which means I've watched myself get stronger in the gym over the last 3 years. And that's the key, is if you get stronger, your body will adapt. If you just do the same weight over and over for 3 years, your body will not adapt. You have to get stronger. So that's why I can currently bench press 225 for 3 sets of 8, which is above average for most men. In my gym, for instance, it's only a few guys who are bench pressing that kind of weight.
Yeah.
And it's, there's guys that bench press more. Yes, there's guys that bench press less. In the majority, most guys do less. So I'm very strong. And I've built that strength. And so my muscle mass has adapted accordingly to that adaptation. Wow. I've forced my body to adapt to the stress I've put it under. In combination with clean bowels, proper absorption, focusing on the basic building blocks, low on the food chain, that has provided the best results I've ever experienced. And like I said, I started working out when I was 40 to get rid of being skinny fat. So I've got 10 years of lifting experience now under my belt. And being a raw vegan has been the best experience of lifting I've ever had. Raw vegan plus lifting, alkaline, plant-based, raw. Wow. It's hard to
good combination.
It is a good combination, and it's completely alkaline. So you're not going to get random injuries. And this is the thing that people underestimate. When you're on a heavy animal-based diet, you're getting injuries. You're experiencing hair loss. You're experiencing problems with your skin. Who knows what else? But it's not a sustainable long-term version of health. What is a whole food, low in the food chain, alkaline, raw living foods. That supports the highest vitality possible. And then just make your body adapt to strength in the gym and you get the results. Then you can be raw vegan, look like a fitness model, whatever you want. It's all at your fingertips at that point.
Fantastic. Wow. So what nowadays, what do you typically eat in a day? Can you kind of walk us through what you would generally eat?
Yeah, so for my body mass, about 200 pounds, 6'2", I generally need about 2,800 calories to maintain. If I'm cutting, if I want to drop a little body fat, I will go down to 2,200. If I want to put on some mass and really go into a calorie surplus and bulk up, I will try to eat 3,000 or above. Not much above. Usually 3,000 is my max for building muscle. So to hit 3,000 calories a day as a raw vegan, I start with a smoothie in the morning, which is generally around 1,000 calories. So it's bananas, dates, and I do superfoods. So I focus on superfoods because I know that the building blocks of the body are what the body wants. So I focus on high mineral, high amino acid superfoods, cacao, maca, ashwagandha root, adaptogenic herb mushrooms like reishi, cordyceps, chaga mushrooms. I do a lot of those. I will also focus on greens like spirulina, chlorella, spinach, microgreens. I make two basic smoothies for working out. One is a green smoothie, one is a cacao smoothie. My cacao smoothie is like the maca, ashwagandha, cacao, bananas, and dates, usually. And then my green smoothie is usually maca, ashwagandha, spinach, and spirulina. And those I build up to about 1,000 calories. That's how I start my day. Then I go work out. After that, I'll usually have again, a green juice. I'll make like a green juice because it's high in amino acids. It's high in minerals. So the body wants minerals to rejuvenate and to replenish. It doesn't need protein. The horrible myth in the fitness industry is that we need to replenish our muscles with protein after we work out. That's an absurd notion. I don't know how we came up with this, but they talk about maximizing muscle protein synthesis. So we eat muscle tissue to maximize our own muscle synthesis. It makes no sense. Our body wants carbohydrates, raw, simple carbohydrates to restore the glycogen that we just burned out at the gym. If you can restore glycogen quickly and effortlessly, you will build muscle quicker. So that's fruit. Fruit will restore the muscles instantaneously. So we eat fruit after a workout, and minerals, high minerals, flood the body with high nutrition in all of the minerals. So make green juice. And so that's my favorite post-workout meal: fruit, green juice, preferably pineapple. That's one of my favorites with the enzymes. And it's funny because I've heard Lee Haney, who's actually a famous bodybuilder, always ate pineapple after his workouts as his recovery meal. And I learned that years later. I heard some random interview with him where he said that pineapple was his post-workout meal. And I was like, see, look, he's a bodybuilder who happened to tune into the truth. And he obviously does steroids because he was a pro bodybuilder. But just for the average guy, eat pineapple after a workout. It's the most optimal to fuel the muscles. And then for my dinners, I will have a salad, big salad, and I finish off the rest of my calories and macros with my salad. I am not focused on protein as my main macro, and this is the big paradigm shift for people who want to be muscular but also be alkaline plant-based. Don't focus on protein, focus on fat, because in the whole food world, fats and proteins become bundled. Okay, nuts and seeds, even meat and animal products, fats and proteins are bundled. So if we focus on how much fat we're getting as our primary macro that we track, the proteins and carbs fall automatically into an ideal range. I shoot for about 20 to 25% of my calories from high omega-3 sources of fats. So that would be flax seeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds, walnuts, sunflower seeds. Those are my primary nuts and seeds that I use that I just listed there. And I get a lot of protein from those. Also, then salad is greens, high amino acid building blocks in the salads. So if you do it right, if you track it properly and you look at the macros properly, you can get the ideal macronutrient ratio for building muscle, sustaining health, and having it all. I shoot for 65 carbs, 20 fat, 15 protein. That's my macro split.
Yeah.
And I do 2,800 calories for maintenance, 3,000 for bulking.
Sounds good. Wow. So now what about supplements? You mentioned that you do some superfoods and things like that. Do you do other supplements or not really?
Okay, supplements is a good question. We can't talk about supplements until we talk about absorption in the gut. 80% of the US population is nutrient deficient. That's a statistic you can look up on any major website. 80% of the US population has nutritional deficiencies. 50% of meat eaters are anemic. That's because we're not absorbing properly. If meat eaters who are eating lots of heme, iron, and meat are anemic, that's an absorption problem. So if we detox the gut, we're going to solve a lot of our need for supplementation. We don't even need to supplement. However, if we're eating whole food only, there's a couple nutrients that aren't available in the fortified foods. The animal products are fed supplements. They're highly supplemented in their feed. Also, processed foods, breads and milks that we buy in packages are fortified with B12, vitamin D, things like that. So if we're eating whole food only, we might not get the supplements that are added to the other foods. So people say that a vegan diet or a raw vegan diet is deficient, but they're not realizing that their diet is deficient already, and it's just being fortified by the producers and the manufacturers. So if we are going whole food only, we want to be aware of our iodine intake, because iodine is not available in the food supply. This is why they started adding it to the salt back in the 1920s, because all processed food has salt. So they figured if people are eating hot dogs, hamburgers, breads, they'll get the iodine. So iodine is one we might miss and need to supplement. B12 is the other one, because although our gut bacteria can produce B12, it's not produced in animals. It's not produced by meat. It's produced by bacteria, but it requires the cobalamin mineral, which is deficient in the soil. So you're not going to get cobalamin. And so how do you get cobalamin? You don't get it from animals. It comes from the soil, but it's deficient in the soil. So we need to supplement with cobalamin. Might as well take a B12 cobalamin supplement, because who wants to eat animals to get a supplement? That's an extremely inefficient way to get a supplement. Right? So those two are pretty much it. It's all you need to focus on or worry about at all. And the interesting thing is, I was vegan for 13 years as a kid. From 17 to 30, I was strict vegan, whole food, and never took a single B12 supplement at all. Never had any issues, never even thought about it. I think it's kind of over pushed that we need to focus on it or fear that our deficiencies. Again, if the gut is operating at an optimal level, deficiencies become a little bit of a non-issue. Also, well water and natural water supplies like spring water, well water will have these bacteria in them that can produce B12. So we can get B12 from spring water or well water, also fermented foods. So if we do it right, we don't even need to have these supplements. That's really the bottom line. That's really the message. But if you're learning, if you've got the learning curve, you're still detoxing your gut, your microbiome isn't optimal, then yeah, take a supplement.
Okay.
And the other one people are deficient in North America is vitamin D3, but that comes from the sun. That doesn't come from food. It's definitely not in animal products. It comes from the sun, and our bodies produce it. So the animals' bodies produce it too, but we don't need to eat animals to get D3. We can just simply produce it ourselves by getting adequate sun exposure every day. We need about 30 minutes of sun exposure a day. If we don't get that, we can supplement with D3. And it's better to take a supplement than eat animals for the supplement we would get from them, So those three supplements are it. Other than that, superfoods are a category that just blows it all out of the water. When we have a really refined gut microbiome that's operating at an optimal level, the key is superfoods, which people say, oh, well, a powder is not a food. People think of food as steak and potatoes, but they don't realize that you take an herb or a root and you grind it up. It can be so filled with amino acids and minerals and micronutrients and phytochemicals and flavonoids, everything that fuels the operation of our body, and enzymes and oxygen hormones in these foods. We don't even realize that how much we can get from how little. So powders like maca root and ashwagandha and spirulina, these are so nutrient dense that when we add small portions of these to our diet through like smoothies or juices or however we want to add them in, we can get a lot of nutrition through very low calorie. So
Yeah.
then it's not about calories aren't the bulk of how we get nutrition. It's more about nutrient density. We focus on nutrient density, and we can control our calories simply through the macronutrients, proteins, carbs, and fats, but we control our body's ability to thrive and build muscle and regenerate properly through micronutrients, through the nutrient density. And so superfoods are absolutely key. And I've been into superfoods, love superfoods, and use them every day. And I probably couldn't live without them at this point. And people might not think like a tablespoon of a green powder is food, but you would be mistaken. It
Yeah.
certainly is.
Yeah.
It fuels our body at the highest level.
Yeah. I agree. Great. Now, I know you have a really fantastic coaching program. Can you tell us about that? It's
Yeah, I have a
online.
group. I have
Yeah.
a group coaching program called Raw Vegan Heroes, which is an incredible support community for detoxing the gut and rebuilding the gut microbiome. So the main benefit of joining Raw Vegan Heroes is community. It's an accountability support group because more important than knowledge, more important than willpower is accountability. If we're surrounded by others who are thriving on a certain diet or lifestyle, we will see that potential and possibility for ourselves. Who we surround ourselves with has the biggest impact on our life. They say that we earn the exact same amount of money as the 5 people we spend the most time with. So that would be also the case for health, diet, and lifestyle. Who we spend the most time with will influence our health, how much money we make, and every other aspect of our life. So the great thing about a group coaching program like mine, Raw Vegan Heroes, is we can invest into the type of accountability that we need to get success and results. So the other major benefit of Raw Vegan Heroes is my bowel detoxification guide. I've been a juice fasting coach for many years. I've helped hundreds of people one-on-one in private coaching and witnessed thousands of juice fast bowel detoxification journeys, all the way back to that Essene Gospel of Peace book where Jesus was talking about using gourds to do enemas. I've studied this. I've done extensive juice fasting, bowel detoxification on myself and with others. So I've put everything I've learned into my bowel detoxification guide, which is an instant download in my group. So this helps people understand the very first step to be successful as a raw vegan and be a muscular, strong raw vegan. And that's a 2-part document. We have to understand that a bowel detoxification journey is really a journey. It's 2 stages. First stage is to get the waste out of the GI tract. Most of us have like 25 to 30 pounds of waste in the GI tract. So we got to get that out. Then the second phase is rebuilding the gut microbiome and the balance of the microbes that are going to break down the basic building blocks of food from a raw vegan diet. That step I kind of outline as a year-long process. So my bowel detox guide is really about a year-long journey that you can follow, and it's outlined in a downloadable PDF. It's an incredible document. That's very important and worth the price of Raw Vegan Heroes just for that document. I also have a 14-day meal plan to help people learn how to go from transitional cooked vegan to high raw to fully raw recipes. There's over 60 recipes plus full 2 weeks of meal planning in there with pantry recommendations and everything. And then also I do a weekly Q&A live stream in the group so people can get direct coaching and mentorship from me. Now that's the recipe for success because you get direct coaching and mentorship from someone who's done it. You get a whole group for accountability. We currently have over 1,200 members and it's growing really fast. It's an incredible community. In fact, Chris, you should be part of it if you're not already.
Yeah.
I will give you a free spot in the group for sharing this video to your audience. Okay. If you want
Absolutely.
it, it's
Absolutely.
it's life-changing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm
It really
very
is.
interested.
Yeah. And then, the knowledge, the support, and the accountability. That's the trifecta of how we achieve the success. Knowing what to do, the knowledge, and then the support to do it, the emotional support of the transformation we have to go through, letting go of old patterns and past traumas and past ways of thinking about our diet, and then the accountability of seeing others forward pacing us. So, oh, they've done it. They're just ahead of me on the journey. I can do it if they can do it. That kind of feeling get the whole spectrum covered there. And Raw Vegan Heroes is a membership, and I discount the yearly membership. If you join for a year, because that's how long you should be on this journey minimum, then you get a 75% discount. It makes Raw Vegan Heroes almost a non-issue. The barrier to entry is very small. It's very affordable.
Yeah.
But this is my life's work. This is what I do to support people in the transformation of this world. I want to help people thrive on a plant-based diet. I've been on this mission since I was 17 years old. It's come full circle for me now, where I'm ready to really serve outwardly and help others achieve what I've achieved. And I do private coaching as well. I make, I do a lot of work one-on-one with people, but I make Raw Vegan Heroes the backbone of how I serve people for the least amount of money. And it's an incredible program. And I highly recommend anyone who wants to be vegan join, because it's not about just being a raw vegan. It's about understanding how a vegan diet works long-term sustainably. So you don't get sick, so you don't get deficient. We avoid starches, we avoid processed foods. Okay. And then it's also for the high raw person who wants to, still have some cooked food, maybe have some cooked starchy vegetables for dinner, but wants to be mostly raw and experience the benefits of an alkaline raw diet.
Yeah.
That's a perfect person to be in Raw Vegan Heroes. And then if someone wants to be fully raw, that's like an emotional and spiritual journey that we go on. And that's a personal choice. But I teach 80% or more living foods is optimal for health. And so I highly recommend people join Raw Vegan Heroes for that level of support. It's life-changing.
Absolutely. Oh, that's just great. Now I know you've worked with a lot of people. Can you just give maybe a few examples of what you've seen people, be able to reverse or transform?
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with people who have, say, large cysts, fibroids, and tumors, reversing tumors completely with proper detoxification, which starts with a juice fast, which opens up the channels of elimination. Now, naturally, the body will eliminate toxins, but if we're backed up in our bowels, it creates pressure in our lymphatic system and we can't detox. So you got to open up the bowels. And when you see people open up the bowels, everything starts to flow, and things like tumors, cancers, cysts, and fibroids will diminish within just a matter of weeks or months. So detoxification is natural healing. It does take time. It's not a quick fix. It's not a pharmaceutical pill where you feel the effects right away. It takes time and dedication. And that's why we need support, like a group like Raw Vegan Heroes, to be on the journey long enough to see the effects. But what I help people with, and what I do most of the time, what people hire me for, is to do a proper juice fast to remove mucoid plaque. Mucoid plaque is a term that talks mostly into the biofilms that accumulate in the GI tract. Biofilm is what bacteria create to keep an anaerobic environment for the colonies of bacteria to thrive. If we're eating the wrong foods, starches, cooked foods, meat, dairy, and eggs, we have biofilms in our GI tract, bad ones, that inhibit the balance of proper microbes and also keep these bad bacteria protected. If you do a juice fast properly one time, you never have to do it again. This is a one-time investment to remove these biofilms, to then rebuild the proper balance of microbes. So that's what people hire me for, is to make sure, to ensure the removal of these biofilms. It's a very specific process. I have an entire outline protocol that's in my bowel detoxification guide. Members of Raw Vegan Heroes get it as an instant download, but often it's an in-depth process that people want private coaching for, because there's a lot of fear. Here's the thing. It's scary to take on this level of detoxification, to change our microbiome, which means changing our mind, because our gut and our brain are connected. And the cravings for food, the demand for cooked food, is something we can change through changing our gut microbes. So then it changes everything. It changes our identity. It changes our place in the world. It changes our cultural identity. If we have pressure from family and friends to fit into a certain cultural tradition of food, there can be a lot of stress and anxiety there. So this is what people need the most help with, is understanding how we can really free ourselves from this kind of matrix of control and expectation and dogma around cooked food, and expand into the limitless potential of our true being. But to expand into the limitless potential of who we truly are, is a scary endeavor for most. We're less afraid of our failures and more afraid of our success. We don't even know who we're going to be when we really shine. If we remove the blocks to our divinity, our perfection, our highest level of health, energy, and vitality, who are we going to be? This is where having a mentor can really make a big difference. And that's what I provide with my coaching, is that level of mentorship. And I call it shadow work, because what we're doing is we're integrating these unconscious, shamed, abandoned parts of ourself that recreate low vitality and integrating them so that we can move beyond them. It's not growing past this shame and limitation. It's actually making it a part of us, being proud of it, being thankful for it. Then we can step into the next level. It's like we don't get to graduate until we own our stuff. You know what I mean? So owning the stuff is the work of the coach, helping people realize we have everything we need inside of us. We are not lacking experience, knowledge, inspiration, or wisdom. We already have it all. It's just a matter of stepping out of our fear, our lack, our limitation, our stories, and into the story of our new becoming. And most of that is really mental and mindset work. Becoming a raw vegan is 80% mental and emotional, 20% food, but really 80% mental, emotional, and spiritual work. And it's profound, I'll tell you that.
Wow. Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely link all of your channel and your contact info in the description box. So make sure you go check out Raw Vegan Rising and check out the coaching program as well. So was there anything else you wanted to mention while we're on the call?
I would say that we all have so much potential within us, and we are often afraid of what it would mean to really be ourselves. And being radically authentic to ourselves is the most important thing. That does require a level of health in the body. We're integrally connected with our body. So if we're going to be spiritually powerful, if we're going to really step into like who we are divinely designed to be, on path, on purpose, on mission in our life, if we're going to really fulfill the purpose we came here for on this earth, this vehicle that we're in, this body, is an integral part of that. We have to fuel the body at the highest level to feel the access to the guidance and the directives of our divine purpose. So it's like a sports car. If you put low quality gas and oil in a sports car, it's not going to run very well. And the same goes for our body. If you put high quality fuel into the body, all of a sudden, everything's unlocked. You get to feel the power of that machine. This is our machine. And it's connected to our vitality, our well-being, our mental state, our courage. If somebody says, well, I don't have the time, that's a low vibrational state. Well, if I don't have the money, that's a low vibrational state. Fuel your body, and all of a sudden you'll say, hey, that money doesn't matter. I'm going to do what I need to do because I'm on a mission. If we don't have the support with our friends and family, it's because our body is sort of suppressed by these foods, these low vibrational foods. If we fuel our body, all of a sudden you're like, hey, family, I'm going to show you what's possible. It brings us up out of the current status quo and into a whole new game board of potential. And while we might be starting a new game of chess on a new game board, hey, we've up-leveled ourselves. And so that's what fueling our body does. It changes everything. If we want to play small, if we want to go along with the status quo, if we want to stay asleep in the matrix, keep doing what you've been doing. If you want to free yourself mentally, emotionally, and spiritually to be the best version of yourself that you feel called to be, then be a raw vegan. Fuel yourself with raw foods and see where that takes you. Guarantee it'll blow your mind.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for getting on this call today. This is valuable information. I can't wait to share it. And I'm really, really happy you're able to do this for us.
Yeah, thanks so much, Chris. Thanks for having me on. It's my pleasure. This is my passion work. This is my mission work. When I went raw vegan 5 years ago, I had the download and the calling to do this, to educate, to inspire, to uplift. And now my Raw Vegan Heroes membership is an example of that. We have 1,200 members. A lot of people need this. A lot of people are ready for this. And so it's my humble pleasure to provide that and just be the voice of hope and inspiration for others to be on their journey. It's not about me, it's about everybody stepping into the next level. So it's my absolute pleasure. I'm in service to this.
Well, thanks again. And we'll, follow up down the road maybe and have you back on sometime again.
Thanks so much, Chris. Have a fantastic day. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.